We can say that the piston is probably one of the core components most objective to wear in the engine of a motocross or enduro motorcycle. It's a component that, therefore, requires frequent replacement to always achieve maximum performance from the engine and avoid mechanical issues that could damage the internal parts of our engine. But first, what's the function of a piston? Moving vertically inside the cylinder, the piston transfers the energy released during combustion to the crankshaft via the piston pin and connecting rod. On a 4-stroke engine, the piston, starting from the highest point it reaches inside the cylinder barrel, known as top dead center or TDC, during the intake phase moves towards the lowest point, bottom dead center or BDC, drawing in the air-fuel mixture. Then it returns to TDC, compressing the fuel in the combustion chamber. At this point, the spark plug ignites and the combustion occurs, generating the energy needed to push the piston to BDC. Last phase is the exhaust, where the piston rises to TDC to push the burnt gases out. As you have understood, it is a component subjected to strenuous work, which is why it must always be kept in perfect condition and be replaced when needed. We suggest to always considering what the manufacturer indicates in the owner's manual, or in any case, regularly check if the proper clearance between piston skirt and the cylinder walls is respected. To replace the piston of a dirt bike, in our case a 2022 Honda CRF 250R, there are various steps to follow, which we will show you one by one in today's tutorial. When tackling a job involving electrical components, the first thing to do is disconnect the terminal from the motorcycle battery to avoid burning any fuses and work safely. Once this is done, remove the fuel tank. The entire exhaust system, separating the exhaust pipe from the terminal and removing them both. Lift the rear subframe to slide the throttle body off the exhaust pipe. Drain the coolant in the engine and remove the coil. Now, we can start working on our engine, starting with removing the valve cover. Once done, remove the crankshaft oil cap to ensure that the two visible marks inside are aligned, indicating that the piston is at the top dead center. If not, simply rotate the crankshaft to bring the piston to the correct position. At this point, loosen the timing chain by removing the tensioner, then move on to the camshaft holder and to the camshafts after removing the valve cover. Next step is disassembling the cylinder head, for which you need to unscrew the cylinder head hanger bolts first and disconnect the ECT sensor connector, which is the engine coolant temperature sensor located on the rear left of the cylinder head. Now that the cylinder head is free from any external support and the connection, unscrew the external and internal side bolts. Once the bolts are removed, slide the engine head, paying particular attention to the dowel pins and to the valve shims, which need to be carefully removed to avoid losing them. Remove the cylinder head gasket and be ready to replace it with a new one. We always recommend to replace it along with all other gaskets. Let's unscrew the 6mm bolt fixing the cylinder to the engine block to remove the cylinder, and slide off the cylinder, being careful in this case as well not to lose the dowel pins. Let's take the cylinder for a while to perform a fundamental step. Measure the internal diameter of the cylinder to choose which piston to mount, since ride after ride, the coating on the cylinder walls starts to get thinner and will therefore require a larger piston. Each of our pistons is available in different sizes, identified with letters, where A is the smallest diameter, B is larger than A by 1/100th of a millimeter, and so on. The difference in width is about 1/100th of millimeters, but this is what can really make the bike reliable and fast. To find out which one is the right piston to choose, you just need to have a bore gauge, a tool used to measure the internal width of the cylinder. Once we have this value, we can choose the perfect piston, which, normally, compared to the cylinder diameter, must be narrower by about 4 or 5/100ths of a millimeter. In any case, follow what the manufacturer recommends case by case. Now, we can clearly see the piston we need to replace. Before removing the pin clips, we recommend placing some towels over the crankcase opening to keep our pin clips from falling into it. Remove one of the pin clips, extracting it from the piston cutout. Pushing from the other side, make the piston pin come out. Now it will be easy to slide the piston out of the connecting rod. Back to our motorcycle engine. It's now time to install the new piston. We will mount an Athena piston made of a special silicone-based aluminum alloy, capable of ensuring the same reliability as the original pistons, with greater resistance to use thanks to surfaces carefully designed to ensure a smooth flow and the most homogeneous flame from propagation possible. Furthermore, for our pistons, we use piston rings that, by guaranteeing less friction with the cylinder, ensure greater performance and resistance. Before mounting the new piston, it is necessary to install the rings. For those who want more help at this stage, the link above leads to the dedicated Athena manual. This is an operation that requires a lot of care to avoid bending or breaking them. We start with the oil scraper ring, composed of 2 side rails and a spacer, which is designed to prevent oil from passing from the base to the combustion chamber. We put some engine oil and insert the spacer into the lower groove, being careful not to overlap the ends at the junction point. Then we insert the 2 side rails, one below the spacer and one above. To avoid oil leaks during normal engine operation, it is necessary to ensure that the openings of the rings are never aligned. Once this is done, we lubricate again the piston with some oil. We insert the top ring, paying attention to the marks indicating the upper part. Be careful not to align the ring closing lines. Before returning to the engine of our bike, let's insert one of the 2 new piston pin clips to facilitate assembly. Take a look now to the piston crown and find what is the direction the arrow is pointing. That is the exhaust side. It is important to consider this when we will install the piston on the correct rod. To simplify assembly, we can mount the pin clip from the side of the cam chain. So we take the pin clip with pliers and insert it into the piston cutout. Take the piston pin, a drop of oil, and use it to seat the ring we inserted. To insert the piston into the cylinder, there are different methods. We always recommend using a piston ring compressor, which allows you to perform the operation with less difficulty and, above all, without risking damage to any component. Close the rings and insert our piston into the cylinder from the top until the pinhole emerges from the bottom. Back to our motorcycle engine. Apply the cylinder base gasket. Position the connecting rod small end inside the piston pinhole and insert the piston pin. Install the second piston pin clip into the grooves. Now we can mount the cylinder on the engine block. remembering to put the dowel pins back in place and tighten the bolts to 10 Nm. With the cylinder mounted, it's time to reassemble all the components we have removed. As we reassemble everything, make sure to always apply the new gaskets facing the correct side. After placing the cylinder head, remember to tighten the bolts to 10 Nm. We have then to install the head bolts. Lubricate the threads with engine oil and start tightening gradually in a criss-cross pattern until reaching the torque specified by the manufacturer, 48 Nm. Another important step is the reassembly of the camshafts and the timing phase. To do this, make sure the timing marks on the cam sprockets align with the camshaft holder mating surface of the cylinder head. Now it's possible to place the cam chain back to the sprockets and mount the camshaft holder, tightening its bolts. Now back to the chain tensioner. Push it back using a flathead screwdriver and tighten the bolts to 10 Nm. After this, rotate the crankshaft with 2 full turns by turning the primary drive gear bolt. Making sure the timing marks align, check the timing phase has been done properly, and finally reassemble the valve cover. Reassemble all the remaining components including throttle body, fuel tank and rear subframe. Refill the coolant in the radiator about 1.5 liters. Fill the cooling circuit completely. Start the engine and then wait until it's warm and check the level when cold. So, job done! With some small useful tricks to facilitate your work, we have replaced the piston in our Honda CRF 250R with a new one available on tina.eu. Don't forget to subscribe to our channels for other maintenance tutorials and to stay updated. Thank you for following us.